Welcome back to my channel. It feels good to have you here again. And if you are visiting this channel for the first time, you are also highly welcome. In this lecture, we'll be looking at bone tissue. Here, we'll be describing the details of the microscopic anatomy of bone tissue. Bone is a specialized type of connective tissue. I've put up other lectures on connective tissue. If you've not checked those lectures, please kindly go and do so to keep yourself updated. Bone, we say, is a specialized type of connective tissue, and it is a supporting type of specialized connective tissue. It is specialized because it contains specialized cells, which are the osteocytes, and also it contains mineralized extracellular matrix. This is what gives bone its hard nature. Here we'll be describing and also relating the microscopic anatomy of bone to their gross presentation. Bone is seen to form a collection that is referred to as skeletal system. This skeletal system is what is seen in this image by the side, and this is what gives the background onto which muscles, ligaments, and also tendons are laid upon. So it provides the structural framework orientation of the body. So let's drive further where we'll be describing the different forms of bone that we have. We have two major forms of bone. Bone can be compact, which can also be referred to as cortical bone. These bones are seen to be hard, and we also have the spongy type of bone that are also referred to as the cancellous bone. This type of bones are seen to be soft. So we have the hard type of bone and also the soft type of bone. So these are the two forms onto which bone can exist. If you look at this image by the side, this is where we have the compact bone here, harrowed at this point. Compact bone, which are the hard type of bones, are seen at the outer alignment of bone. So they are seen at the circumferential region of bone, while the bones that are seen at the central part at the spongy or the cancellous bone. And this is what is harrowed here in blue. And these forms of bone are usually seen at the center part of bone. And this is what is projected here in this image. In this lecture, we'll be describing the details of the microscopic anatomy of the two forms of bone that we have highlighted. So let's first dive into the compact type of bone. We said that the compact type of bone is seen to be hard. Microscopically, the compact bone is made up of the Avasian system. If you look at this image by the side, this is where we have the Avasian system here, carved out in dotted red. This Avasian system can also be referred to as the osteon. We have a number of osteons collected together at the outer region of bone, and this is what is seen to form the microscopic anatomy or feature of the compact bone that is also referred to as a cortical bone. If you look at this image by the side, this other image is what we use in describing the two forms of bones that we have in our previous slide. We said that in the outer region, we have the compact bone. If you drive into the outer region here, that is harrowed here at this point, this is where we have the osteum. This is referred to as the Avasian system. And this is what is harrowed here in black. So you see the Avasian system coming together at the outer region, and this is what forms the histological basis of compact bone. Well, if you go to the central region, you have the spongy bone that is soft. And if you look at the central part where this arrow is pointing, you see that we have the spongy type of bone at the central region. But we would be focusing first on the compact bone. So we'll be describing the details of the microscopic component of the compact bone. So if you try to divide the Avasian system or the osteon into two sub-regions, we have the organic sub-region, and this takes about 35% of the entire configuration of the compact bone tissue. And we also have the inorganic component that takes up about 65% of the entire compact bone tissue. So this is how they are subdivided into their two subcomponents. So we have the organic component and we have the inorganic component. For the organic component is further subdivided into the cell and also the osteoid. So we have the cell and also the osteoid, making about 35% of the entire compact bone tissue. This osteoid is the non-mineralized extracellular matrix. Remember that in other types of connective tissues that we have highlighted previously in our other lectures, we say that we have the cellular component and also the extracellular matrix. This is the cellular component here highlighted as cell, and the extracellular component here highlighted as the osteoid. But in this case, the extracellular component of the organic component is the non-mineralized extracellular matrix. We know that bone tissue is a specialized type of connective tissue that is hard. So it is the inorganic component that is the mineralized part of the extracellular component that allows for this hardness. So we have the cell and the osteoid making up the organic component of the compact bone tissue. So we have the osteoid as the non-mineralized extracellular matrix. And this is also further subdivided into the ground substance and also the fibers. The fibers is seen to be more than the ground substance. And this extracellular component that is referred to as the osteoid that we say is non-mineralized will then be mineralized by the inorganic component. So we have the inorganic component as the mineralized extracellular matrix. And this is what is responsible for the hardness of bone. And this also takes the chunk of the entire mass of the compact bone tissue. So if you go back to this arrangement, you see that the osteoid, which is the non-mineralized extracellular matrix, will become mineralized by the inorganic component, which is the mineralized extracellular matrix. This inorganic component that is the mineralized extracellular matrix is made up of calcium and also phosphates. So these two are the most abundant of the mineralized extracellular matrix. We also have magnesium, sodium, and also fluoride ion. So you see that the non-mineralized extracellular matrix, which is the osteoid, will become mineralized, or in other words, will become hardened by the minerals that are contained within the inorganic components. And we also say that these minerals takes the chunk of the entire mass of cortical bone tissue. So this is how the basic of the histological components of cortical bones are arranged. So let's dive into each of these subcomponents and see how each of them are being laid for the formation of the cortical bone. So first, let's look at the osteoid. Remember, we said that the organic component of cortical bone is further subdivided into the cell and also the osteoid. We said that the osteoid is the non-mineralized extracellular component. This non-mineralized extracellular component is further subdivided into the ground substance and also the fibers. The ground substance is what creates the background of the cortical bone tissue, or the compact bone tissue. This is what creates the background onto which cells, fibers, and minerals are embedded. So let's first build the background of the compact bone, and after which we would be introducing the other components in the quest of building the compact bone tissue. So let's look at the background. We say that the background is formed by the ground substance. The ground substance is basically made up of glycans and also glycoproteins. And these chemical substances create the ground substance of the compact bone. There is a specific pattern onto which the ground substance of the compact bone is built. These are arranged in concentric rings that are referred to as lamellae. If you look at this image down here, this is where we have the concentric ring of laminae, and this is what the ground substance are transformed into. So you have this laminae built like ring, and this is what is also seen here in this image. And this ring of laminae is built, leaving a central space that is referred to as the Avesian canal. So you have the Avesian canal at this central place. Basically, this space is left to allow for the accommodation of neurovascular structures. If you look at this upper image, this is where we have the Avesian system here. This circular orientation of bone tissue, and this is what is seen here around this image. We say that at this central part, a space is left, and this is referred to as the Avesian canal. This is what is harrowed here at this point. This space is left to accommodate for neurovascular structure to the bone tissue. And this is what is projected here in this image. If we go back to this lower image, this is where we have the Avesian canal also arrowed there at this point. You see that within this space, we have a collection of neurovascular structures. It's not just designed irregularly. It is seen to be arranged in a specific pattern. And this specific pattern is a concentric ring that runs in a circular orientation. We say that this circular orientation does not run and be completed. It is seen at the center to leave a space. And this space is what is referred to as the Avesian canal. This Avesian canal creates the accommodation site for neurovascular structures, because we know that bone tissues also need to be provided provided with nutrients. And it is through vascular network that the nutrients will reach the different sub-regions of bone. So this is the kind of arrangement that we have around this region. It's also important for us to add, so in addition to the concentric arrangement of laminae, we also have two additional types of laminae. We have the interstitial laminae, and this is seen to be located between the two osteum. If you look at this image, in this lower region, this is where we have the concentric ring of laminae here. This is a type of laminae. Then we have another type of laminae that are seen between the osteums. So you have the interstitial laminae. Just from here breaking down the name, interstitial means it is located between the osteum. We know that this arrangement of laminae that is seen to form the concentric ring, because it is forming a circular orientation, we'll be leaving another type of laminae in between two or more osteums. And these are referred to as interstitial laminae. And this is what is harrowed here in hash. We also have the second type of laminae, apart from the interstitial laminae, has the circumferential laminae. The circumferential laminae, just from me also breaking down the name, means it is seen around the circumference of the compact bone tissue. And we have two types. We have the external circumferential laminae and we have the internal circumferential laminae. This is the external circumferential laminae here, harrowed in blue. It is seen to be located deep to the periosteum, and it is seen to be lining at the outer region of the Avesian system. This is where we have the Avesian system here located at this point. This is where we have the collection of osteons. And at this outer region, you see that we have another type of laminae creating like a guide at the external region. While also at the external region here, towards the region where we have the spongy bone, remember we said that the compact bone is seen at the outer margin, while the spongy bone is seen at the inner region or at the central part. So before we have the formation of the spongy bone at this inner region, we also have another type of laminae that is seen to line the Avesian system around the internal region. And this is referred to as the internal circumferential laminae. So you see that we have three types of laminae, which include the laminae that is seen to form the concentric ring that is referred to as the Avesian system or the osteum. Then we have another type that is referred to as the interstitial laminae that is located between the osteum. And we've tried to describe this using this lower image, and this is what is harrowed here in hash. Then we have the circumferential that is seen to be guiding the Avesian system on both the external region and also on the internal region. So you see it located as a pillar or a pole guiding the Avesian system at the external region and also at the internal region. And these are referred to as the circumferential laminae. When they are located in the outer region are referred to as external circumferential laminae, while the ones that are located at the internal region are referred to as internal circumferential laminae. I hope that this is understandable. And we've tried to illustrate this using this diagrammatic image. It's also important for us to add that the osteoid, apart from the ground substance, is also made up of fibers. The fibers takes the chunk of the osteoid. So we say that the fiber deposition, which is basically made up of a collagen type of fibers, are seen to be more in terms of composition. This is what gives bone tensile strength. So you have more deposit of fibers within the non-mineralized extracellular matrix. This is what this represents. Laying down the osteoid, which basically is made up of the ground substance and also the fibers. So now we'll be highlighting the different types of bone cells that will be embedded within the osteoid. Remember when we started this lecture, we said that the bone tissue is divided into the organic component and the inorganic component. We said that the organic component is further subdivided into the cellular component and also the osteoid. We have tried to highlight in our previous slide the microscopic component of the osteoid. We said that the osteoid is made up of ground substance and also fibers. This is what we say creates the background or to which the cells are embedded within. So let's look at the different types of bone cells that we have. But before we dive into that, it is important that I highlight that these bone cells are located in a specialized environment within the osteoid. And this is referred to as the lacunae. These lacunae are also interconnected through the canaliculi. So this helps to create interconnection network between the cellular component of bone tissue. We try to use this image by the side. This is where we have the bone cell here, harrowed at this point. This bone cell, we say, is located within the specialized environment that is referred to as the lacunae. have a number of lacunae onto which these bone cells are embedded within. And also these spaces are interconnected by the canaliculi. So this is one canaliculus here harrowed at this point, and it is through this point that we have the establishment of the intercellular connection, so that each of the lacunae can communicate with each other. When there is deficiency or insufficient nutrients, it can be collected from the surrounding lacunae through this network that is established. So now let's go through the different types of bone cells that we have. And the first one is the osteoprogenitor cells. The osteoprogenitor cells are stem cells which will further be transformed into the mature bone cell, and they arise from the mesenchymal cells. This is the kind of configuration that the osteoprogenitor cells present. They are seen to be flat, and these cells are designed to be further transformed into the osteoblast, which means that the next stage of development is the osteoblast. These cells are usually seen in the endosteum and also in the periosteum. We know that the endosteum is found lining the interior wall of the compact bone, while the periosteum is found in the outer margin of the compact bone. And this is where they are specifically located. The next type of cell that we have is the osteoblast. Remember, we described in our previous slide that the osteoprogenitor cells are designed to further transform or develop into the osteoblast. So this is the next stage of development, and they are seen to, of course, arise from the osteoprogenitor cell. If you look at the configuration here, you see that they are cuboidal in shape. If you go back to the presentation of the osteoprogenitor cell, remember we said that they are flat, but by the time they become transformed or developed into the osteoblast, they will be seen to be cuboidal in shape. And the basis behind this is to create the space for them to be able to synthesize the extracellular matrix. So this osteoblast is seen to produce the grass substance and also the fibers that we initially described. So these cells are actually responsible for this production. And for them to be able to produce these substances, they need to create space within their cytoplasm. And this is why they are seen to be cuboidal in shape. These cells are usually seen in areas of bone growth and also bone remodeling. So if you drive into the cytoplasm of this cell, you see that they are filled with actin and myosin fibers. If you look at this image down here that is highlighted here in yellow, you see that we have a number of actin and myosin filaments that are deposited within the cytoplasm of the osteoblast. This is to enhance their movement. These fibers is seen to help propel these cells to the regions where they are needed. And remember, we initially stated that they are needed in regions where bone growth and remodeling processes occur. So this is the kind of configuration that they present. And these cells are also responsible for the production of the osteoid. Remember when we started this lecture, we said that the entire configuration of compact bone is subdivided into the organic component and the inorganic component. We said that the organic component is further subdivided into the cellular component and the non-mineralized extracellular matrix, while the inorganic component is the mineralized extracellular matrix. The non-mineralized extracellular matrix is the osteoid, and it is basically made up of the grass substance and also the fibers. This extracellular matrix is produced by the cellular component of the compact bone tissue. So you see that this osteoblast, which of course is developed from the osteoprogenitor cells, are responsible for the production of the non-mineralized extracellular matrix. So the next type of cell is the osteocyte, and these osteocytes are the mature bone cells. These osteocytes are developed from the osteoblast. They are seen to be smaller in terms of their configuration, and this is the kind of configuration that they present that is highlighted here in yellow. You see that they're actually smaller in size, and this small presentation is because they are not involved in the production of new matrix. If you go back to our previous slide, we described that the osteoblast is responsible for secreting the extracellular matrix. As soon as they become developed into the osteocyte, they are not seen to undergo production. And this is why they appear to be smaller in size. So if you drive into the cytoplasm of this cell, you see that they have fewer cell organelles because they are not involved in metabolic activity. But what is distinct about osteocytes is that they project interconnecting processes. And if you look at this image down here, you see that we have a number of processes that emerge from this cell. And this is basically to help maintain the extracellular matrix. The osteocytes are able to maintain the extracellular matrix through their interconnecting processes. So they have these cytoplasmic extensions through which the osteocytes connect with one another. They also secrete enzymes that are spread along this connection. And through this, they are able to strengthen or maintain the extracellular matrix. The next type of bone cell is the osteoclast. This osteoclast is different. Remember in our previous slide, we said that the mature bone cell is the osteocyte. These osteoclasts are from monocytes or macrophages, and they are seen to be large in size. If you look at this image by the side, this is the configuration of the osteoclast. What they are responsible for basically is the digestion of the extracellular matrix. And osteoclasts are seen in regions where bone growth, healing, injury, and remodeling occur. And they are able to digest the extracellular matrix through their high metabolic activity. If you drive into their cytoplasm, you see that they have numerous mitochondria and vacuoles. The vacuoles are used to store the chemical substances that are used to digest extracellular matrix. And what they do basically in this regard is to help break down the already produced or formed bone tissue. Remember, we said that the osteoblast will build new extracellular matrix. So the osteoclast will digest the already formed bone tissue that is needed to be repaired so as to give the space or allowance for the invasion of the osteoblast, so that the osteoblast can invade into that environment. Remember, we also described that the osteoblast is rich in actin and myosin fibers, and this is what helps to propel them to the regions or areas where they are needed. As soon as they invade the areas where they are needed, they help to produce extracellular matrix. So this is the process that occurs during bone repair. These osteoclasts are located in specialized lacunae that is referred to as the hot-shaped lacunae. This is also referred to as the reabsorption bay. Remember, we said that the bone cells are located in specialized environments that are referred to as lacunae, but specifically the osteoclasts are seen in the hot-shaped lacunae. It is important that we highlight this. It is also important for us to note that there must be a balance between bone tissue breaking down process and also building up process. Remember when we highlighted what the osteoclasts do, we said that they help to digest the already formed bone tissue so as to create the space for the invasion of the osteoblast. This digestion of the extracellular matrix is a breaking down process. So the rate at which the osteoclast will break down bone tissue must balance off with the rate at which the osteoblast will build up new bone tissue. And when there's an imbalance in these two processes, it will lead to osteoporosis, which is the loss of bone tissue. So there has to be a balance between these two processes so as to prevent the loss of bone tissue that can lead to osteoporosis. So now let's go to the inorganic component of compact bone tissue. Remember when we started this lecture, we said that the compact bone tissue is divided into the organic component and the inorganic component. We've tried to highlight in detail the organic component. We said that this organic component is made up of the cellular component and also the non-mineralized extracellular matrix, which is composed of the ground substance and also the fibers. And we've tried to highlight this in detail. So now let's go to the inorganic component, which is the mineralized extracellular matrix. This is what is actually responsible for strengthening the osteoid. And this is why we have this hard presentation of bone. And this is as a result of the deposit of minerals within the extracellular matrix. So if you look at this image down here, this is the histology or microscopic picture of the compact bone. And we've described that this is structurally made up of the Herbaceous system, compacted together around this region. This structure will become mineralized to become hardened. And after this process, it takes this configuration. So you see that it becomes hardened because of the deposits of minerals. Basically, we have the calcium ion and also the phosphate ion. These two in combine are referred to as the hydroxyl apatite. In addition to this, we also have the magnesium, sodium, and also fluoride ion also deposited within the extracellular matrix. But the most common one that are seen are the calcium and also the phosphate ion. So this is the inorganic component of the compact bone tissue. And this is basically made up of minerals, and they are deposited within the extracellular matrix to allow for bone hardness. So let's dive into the microscopic anatomy of the spongy bone. Remember, we said that bones can exist in two forms. You can either have the compact bone or the spongy bone. The compact bone can also be referred to as the cortical bones, and these are seen to be hard, while the spongy bones can also be referred to as the cancellous bone, and these bones are seen to be soft. If you look at this image by this upper region, we say that the compact bone are located at the outer margin of long bone, and they are specifically made up of the Avasian system that is also referred to as the osteum. So you have the osteum here, carved in black, that is located in the outer margin. So you see a number of osteos, coming together around this region to form the compact bone tissue. And this is what is also harrowed at this region. This is the osteum here in this image. We already described in details the structural microscopic component of the osteum. And this is what is seen here at this region. So if you go to the central region, you have the spongy bone that is also referred to as the cancellous bone. This bone is seen to be loosely packed, and this is why you see a number of spaces within them. This is also the basis behind this bone being soft. So this bone is seen to contain also lamellae as a microscopic feature. They're also seen to contain cells that are located within the lacunae. These lacunae are also seen to be interconnected through the canaliculi. We already described all these in the compact bone. These features are also seen in the spongy bone. So they are seen to also contain these structures, but the only difference is their arrangement. So they are arranged in a branching irregular network of plates. This is how the lamina are arranged, and this is specifically referred to as trabeculae. If you look at this lower image, this is where we have trabeculae here arranged in a branching irregular network. And of course, within them, you have a number of spaces. This region that is harrowed here in red is the trabeculae. You see that they are arranged in branching irregular network, and they are seen with a number of spaces. If you go back to the arrangement of the lamella in the compact bone, you see that the Avasian system has an Avasian canal at its central part, through which neurovascular structures will pass through to supply the bone tissue. In the spongy bone, we do not have the Avasian canal. The spaces that are created between the irregular arrangement of network of lacunae, that is referred to as the trabeculae, is what creates the passageway for blood vessels. So you see that neurovascular structures will pass through these spaces to reach the bone tissue to supply them with oxygen and also nutrients. The spongy bone, as you can see, are seen with a number of spaces, and these spaces is what allows for its soft nature. Because of this, the teeth is able to bite through it. When you compare it with the compact bone has the bone tissue tightly packed together. These are not seen with spaces, and this is why the teeth cannot bite through the compact type of bone. Also in the spongy bone, because of these spaces, it appears to be lighter than the compact bone. If you go back to the microscopic anatomy of the compact bone, remember we said that it is basically made up of the Avasian system. This Avasian system are tightly packed together, so there is no space located within them. And this is why they are seen to also be heavier than the spongy type of bone that is seen with a number of spaces. So it's important that we're able to differentiate the features that they exhibit and also relate it to their microscopic anatomy. So you see that these two forms of bone have the same components, but the pattern of their arrangement is what is different. And we've tried to highlight this using this slide. Spongy bone is usually seen in the epiphyses of long bone and are also seen in the middle of flat bone. So you see them sandwiched between the two layers of compact bone. So let's quickly look at the applied anatomy. Let's look at woven bone. Woven bone are also referred to as primary bone. They are the initial bone tissue type that are laid down during embryonic development. They are also seen in repair sites in adulthood. If you look at this image at this angle, this is what the woven bone looks like. You see that it is characterized by irregular arrangement of bone tissue with reduced mineral deposits. This is what is initially laid down before we have final rearrangement or restructuring into the Avasian pattern. Then we also have bone remodeling. Bone remodeling basically entails bone tissue being reabsorbed and also new one being formed. These two processes are carried out by bone cells. Remember when we started this lecture, we said that the microscopic component of bone tissue is basically organic and also the inorganic component. The organic component is further subdivided into the cellular component and also the osteoid. The osteoid is the non-mineralized extracellular matrix, where we have the mineralized extracellular matrix as the inorganic component. We try to explain this during the course of this lecture. So for the bone cell, the cellular component, we said that we have the osteoclast. The osteoclast basically we said are derived from monocytes or macrophages, and they are responsible for digesting extracellular matrix. And the basis behind this process is to create a space for the invasion of the osteoblast. Remember when we described the bone cells, we said that the osteoblast is formed from the osteoprogenitor cells, and they are basically responsible for synthesizing the extracellular matrix. So as one is digesting the bone tissue or the extracellular matrix, the other type of cell is building it up. We also say that the two processes must balance to prevent the loss of bone tissue that is referred to osteoporosis. We also try to highlight this during the course of this lecture. So thanks for watching this video.